You guys, this might be one of the worst tweets I've ever seen in my entire life. The lack of ball knowledge on display, the arrogance on display in this tweet, I mean, it needs to be awarded with something. I guess the award is it is now featuring on Twitter Takes episode 4, the series where we find controversial footy takes on the internet and we react to it. And today's controversial footballing opinion comes from none other than Soccer Dad, who basically compared the Japanese national team losing to Iraq at the group stage of the Asian Cup to the US men's national team losing to Curacao at the Gold Cup. Before I break down this gem of a tweet, guys, if you like this series, make sure you leave a like in the video and hit subscribe, especially if you like Asian football, because we are going to be continuing with our Asian Cup coverage until the tournament concludes. This is technically a two-part tweet. I'm going to just breeze through the first one and then get into the meat and potatoes. The first tweet is a response to the Iraqi celebrations after the final whistle against Japan. Quote, "Wait, this isn't possible. I've heard for months how the Japanese team is far superior to the US men's national team and our amateur coach. Their culture is so much better that an expert on this app says we should emulate everything they're doing. This is obviously CGI or something." I could really make a Twitter Takes episode just about this complete ignorance alone. I mean, this guy is acting like there's no such thing as an upset in football. This guy's clearly never watched AFCON. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy's never watched anything outside of US men's national team games. That tweet is bad enough, but really it's the follow-up that is even worse. Somebody quote tweeted that and said, "Bro, we just lost to Trinidad not long ago," we being the US men's national team. To which Soccer Dad, here it comes, quote, "In a meaningless game, what Japan did was the equivalent of losing to Curacao in a Gold Cup, LOL. Jesus Christ, bro. First off, the game that the US lost to Trinidad was a Copa America qualifier, not exactly an international friendly. And secondly, comparing Curacao to Iraq might be one of the most flattering things that's ever happened to the Curacaoans in their history, and two, the most insulting thing you could possibly say about Iraq. This tweet is almost so bad that I almost can't react to it because quite literally everything is wrong. You know, both tweets, but we're going to focus on the second one. You've obviously never seen Iraq play in your entire life. I don't think you could name a single player on the Iraqi national team. Hell, I don't think you could point to Iraq on a map. I don't think you could point to Curacao on a map either. Like, does this dude not realize that Iraq are closer to the United States in terms of strength than they are to Curacao? Which has me thinking on the fly here. Is there a team in CONCACAF that you guys think would be an appropriate comparison to Iraq? Let me know in the comments. I was kind of thinking about it, like, had Soccer Dad said somebody like Honduras or something, I would have been like, okay, World Cup appearances, they've got trophies, difficult to beat, very, very good at home. That makes more sense. But Curacao is beyond insulting. I said it already. It's like this man cannot comprehend what an upset is. Maybe the United States would get upset a little more often if they didn't host every goddamn Gold Cup. I mean, Lord Almighty, the United States doesn't even want to play outside of their own country. This is how I know that most Americans are just absolutely awful at assessing the true strength of CONCACAF, much less the strength of Asia or CAF or CONMEBOL. If you genuinely think that any Caribbean island, you know what? Make a combined 11 of all the Caribbean islands. If you think that team is qualifying to a World Cup in Asia, you're an idiot. Let's be very clear. I've said this multiple times. Asia is stronger than CONCACAF. I will debate anybody about that. Most CONCACAF teams, guys, would not qualify to the World Cup if they were in the AFC. The only teams that would qualify on a regular basis are the United States and Mexico. And trust me, it wouldn't be every time. Now, I know this tweet is stupid and obviously this guy's a moron, but let's just have some fun with it, okay? Let's actually try to break this down. I've had a long week of work. I want to have some fun. First, let's look at how both of these teams perform in their respective continental tournaments. Iraq, obviously being from Asia, participate in the Asian Cup. Since they joined Asia in, I believe, the 1970s, there have been 14 editions of the Asian Cup, and Iraq have qualified to 10. You might be asking what happened in the other 4. Well, for one of them, they were banned because of the Gulf War, and the other 3, they just simply withdrew. I'm not sure what the reason is. It's probably political, if I had to guess. So basically, Iraq have a 100% qualification rate at the Asian Cup. Now, in the 10 Asian Cups that Iraq have actually participated at, number 1, they've never been eliminated in the group stage. Number 2, they finished 4th in 2015, and they won the entire tournament in 2007. Anybody that follows Asian football even casually knows that Iraq are a power in the region. They're not a Japan or a Korea, but they are firmly a tier 2 power in Asia. What tier in CONCACAF are Curacao in? I mean, y'all, we might have to be in tier 6. Like, how low do we need to go here before it becomes accurate? Now let's go to Curacao and see how they've done at the Gold Cup. Let me spoil it for you right now. now, it's not too good. In the last 7 editions of the tournament, Curacao have only qualified 3 times. The only time that Curacao has actually placed at the Gold Cup was back in the 60s when they were literally a territory of the Netherlands. Now, what if I told you guys that from 1973 to 2017, Curacao didn't make it to the Gold Cup? That is 17 straight editions of the tournament that they did not qualify for. In fact, most of the time, they didn't even qualify for the tournament that qualifies you for the Gold Cup. You can't make this up. And since this was born, I'm assuming since his name is Soccer Dad, he's probably 50, 60 years old, something like that. Guess how many games Curacao have won at the Gold Cup? The answer is a single victory. 1. That was a 1-0 win against Honduras in 2019. Curacao didn't even qualify for the Gold Cup in 2023 because they lost to St. Kitts and Nevis, the team that eventually made the Gold Cup and, hold on, conceded 14 goals in 3 group stage games. Again, y'all, the fact that somebody could even have the audacity to compare Curacao to Iraq. I mean, I'm just going to keep going because this is fun now. Obviously, this man has no credibility whatsoever. Next, let's look at how these teams perform in other tournaments, right? So Iraq, they have won the FIFA Arab Cup 4 times, which is the most of any team, and other participating nations include Saudi Arabia, Morocco, Algeria, Qatar, Tunisia, Egypt, you know, complete scrubs. They've also won the Arabian Gulf Cup 4 times, which is the second most of all participating nations. Meanwhile, Curacao, let's go back to the Caribbean Cup. Remember I said that often they don't qualify for the tournament that qualifies you for the Gold Cup. That was the Caribbean Cup. In the 19 editions of the Caribbean Cup, Curacao have 1 championship. Although that championship was technically the last ever edition of the Caribbean Cup, so I guess it counts as 2. Here are a list of teams that made more semifinals at the Caribbean Cup than Curacao. This is pretty crazy. Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, Martinique, Grenada, and Guadeloupe. That is tragic. You are literally the 8th best Caribbean team historically. Now let's wrap it up with World Cup. And really with Curacao, there ain't nothing to say. There ain't nothing to say because they've never even sniffed qualifying for the World Cup. We could expand that thing to 128 teams for the 2030 edition of the World Cup. These boys still ain't qualifying because you know what? They're going to get knocked out by Guatemala or freaking Bermuda or something like that. Meanwhile, Iraq have actually been to a World Cup in 1986. You might hear that and think, wow, that's trash. They've only qualified to 1 World Cup. How is that possible? These guys are obviously dog water. Well, I don't think you know how many countries have never qualified for a World Cup. And again, I think you underrate how difficult it is to qualify in Asia. And Iraq usually go to the final round and then just don't have enough firepower to compete with the big dogs on the continent. Of the last 5 World Cup cycles, they made it to either round 3 or round 4, depending on how many rounds Asia decides to have. The final round, they've made it there 3 out of 5 times. And at the end of the day, they're just not qualifying because they don't have the personnel of teams like Korea, teams like Australia, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Iran. They're not quite on that level. Iraq, much like Curacao, are not expected to qualify for a World Cup. They are not expected to win the continental tournament, yet Iraq has done both while Curacao ain't even gotten close. And again, if you had any knowledge of Asian ball whatsoever, you would understand why. I mean, look at this qualifying group from 2018 and look me dead in the eyes and say with 100% certainty, the United States is qualifying from this group. I mean, Jesus Christ, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Australia, UAE in the same group? I'm telling y'all right now, the US does not make it out of this group. You can take the 2022 edition of the team, you can take 2018, you can take the 2014 team. No, sir. And this is what I'm talking about. There are levels to this, okay? I'm not saying Asia is as strong as Europe. I'm not saying Asia is as strong as CONMEBOL, but it is certainly better than CONCACAF. And for you to take one of the powers from the Asian continent who has ballers all over the pitch and diminish them by comparing them to Curacao is quite frankly disgusting. This is one of those tweets that I see and I genuinely mean it. You should delete your account. When you are as unformed about a matter as Soccer Dad clearly is, the best thing to do is just shut up. Because when you speak like this, you make yourself look like an absolute idiot, which I have no doubt you are. I don't really have anything else to say about this. I got a lot of stuff off my chest. I mean, I saw this and immediately lost my appetite. I was genuinely disturbed. I was disturbed that somebody had the confidence, narcissism, ignorance, lack of awareness, whatever, to put something like this out on the internet. So Soccer Dad, I'm going to advise you next time, brother, just don't hit send. That is the video, guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed and hit subscribe. And again, leave your thoughts down below in the comments. If y'all ever see anything on Twitter that you think would be a good nomination for this show, DMs are open. You can find my Twitter in the description of this video. I appreciate y'all for watching. I'll see y'all in the next episode of Twitter Takes. Hopefully, it's not this diabolical.